Welcome back to the channel. We're doing another reading of another case from my dad's law book, Criminal Law Case Digest by Attorney Diogenes Ahelion. And this time we are going with case number 24. And this is about the crime of theft. So we are on Title 3 or Chapter 3, titled Don't Steal, Cheat. He quoted Oliver Wendell Holmes from his book, The Autocrat of the Breakfast Table, and it reads, "Sin has many tools, but a lie is the handle which fits them all." So the book actually is available on Apple Books and it's downloadable, a little bit less in price instead of like the actual physical book. But you can buy the actual physical book from Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and from myself personally. And I will be giving everyone a discount who orders the first 10 from my email. So if you send me an email or send me a message through one of my social media platforms, on my Instagram, Maria Sarinas, and on my Facebook, Maria Sarinas, you can send me a private message or a direct message, and I will let you know how you can send in the payment, how to purchase it, and it will be guaranteed delivery to you from me. So let's start. We're reading case number 24. Here are the facts. Anita is the bookkeeper and accounting clerk of Viva, and as such, she is entrusted with the financial records and checks of her said employer. In grave abuse of confidence of her employer, Anita made herself the payee in several pre-signed blank checks under the joint account of her employer and their customer, Mr. Tan, and with the use of said checks was able to withdraw, take, and carry away the total of 800,000 pesos from the said joint account. It is not clear, however, who, between her employer and their customer, Mr. Tan, is the actual owner of the funds taken by Anita. Notwithstanding, the question is, what is the crime committed by Anita? 4 choices: A, simple theft; B, estafa; C, qualified theft; or D, no criminal liability on account no one knows who owns the checking account. So my dad explained the answer, which is C, qualified theft, through his dialectics. The elements of the crime of theft are as follows. 1, that there be taking of personal property. 2, that said property belongs to another. 3, that the taking be done with intent to gain. 4, that the taking be done without the consent of the owner. And 5, that the taking be accomplished without the use of violence against or intimidation of persons or forced upon things. Theft becomes qualified when any of the following circumstances is present. 1, the theft is committed by a domestic servant, which means under the owner's employ. 2, the theft is committed with grave abuse of confidence. In this case, Anita is the bookkeeper and accounting clerk, of course, was hired with confidence that she will take care of the financial aspect of the owner's business. 3, the property stolen is either a motor vehicle, mail matter, or large cattle. So mail matter would most likely be the check would most likely be part of the mail matter. 4, the property stolen consists of coconuts taken from the premises of a plantation. That's one kind of qualified theft. 5, the property stolen is fish from the fish pond or fishery. And 6, the property was taken on the occasion of fire, earthquake, typhoon, volcanic eruption, or any other calamity, vehicular accident, or civil disturbance. Civil disturbance would be during protests. Full ownership of the things stolen does not need to belong to the accused before she could be convicted of qualified theft. The subject of the crime of theft is any personal property belonging to another person. Hence, as long as the property taken does not belong to the accused, in this case Anita, it is immaterial whether said offender stole it from the owner, a mere possessor, maybe Mr. Tan, or even a thief of the property. So that's a good thing to elaborate on. So in this case, the crime cannot be estafa because what was entrusted to Anita was not the juridical possession of the funds stolen. What was entrusted to her were only the checks she used to consummate the crime. So, what is qualified theft? In the Philippines, qualified theft is explained as committed by a person who steals personal property that they have access to because of their position, job, or relationship with the owner. So Anita is the trusted bookkeeper and accountant. That's her position in a job, and that's her relationship to the owner who is her employer. Essentially, it's a breach of trust, making the act more reprehensible. So, circumstances that qualify the act are as follows. Theft is committed by a domestic servant or a person in a position of trust. The stolen property is a motor vehicle, mail, or anything of value taken from its owner's person. So, it's anything of value which the check has value because of the amounts that actually has funds in it, right? When she issued it to herself. Theft is committed during calamities or with the help of armed men or persons who ensure its commission by using force or intimidation. That would be another case that we will be reading shortly or in another video. The penalties for qualified theft are more severe than those of simple theft. The actual penalty depends on the value of the stolen property. The higher the value, the stiffer the penalty, which is always the case in any crime, which can range from imprisonment to large sums of fines. Proving qualified theft. How do we prove qualified theft? We need to establish the offender's intent to gain, the unlawful taking of personal property, the property belongs to one or another person, the offender had a special relationship or position that gave them access to the property. So all of these circumstances were established and proven in Anita's case. First, of course, she took like a blank check and issued sums of money to herself, proving that she has the intent to gain the money, because she never also disclosed it to the owners like she had done it in secret. The unlawful taking of personal property, in this case the money that was withdrawn through the checks, and the checks were actually personal property even though it's for the business of the owner, Viva. The property belongs to another person. The checks and the money belong to another person, be it Viva or Mr. Tan. The offender had a special relationship or position that gave them access to the property. So obviously, Anita had access to the blank checks and to the money. So as being like the accountant and the bookkeeper. Legal remedies. What can a victim of qualified theft do? You need to consult with your lawyer to understand your rights and the legal remedies available. You can file a criminal complaint against the thief, but gathering evidence and testimonies will be crucial to support the case. That's why you need a lawyer. Defense. For those who are accused of qualified theft, various defenses can be employed, such as proving the absence of intent. Anita can say, oh, I just wrote it by mistake, payable to myself. Okay. Showing that the property was not taken unlawfully or challenging the value of the stolen property. I don't think those could be Anita's defense. I don't think that she can prove the absence of intent because she took a blank check with no amount on it, signed by Viva, and issued to herself. She wrote her name on the check and the amounts that she wants to get from the bank account. And she can't also use showing the property was not taken unlawfully as a defense. It is unlawfully taken. Again, she issued it to herself. She wrote her name as the payee on the check, or challenging the value of the stolen property. So in this case, the check was cashed, so obviously it has value, and of course 800,000 pesos has value. So you might be curious, 800,000 pesos is also equivalent to 16,000 Canadian dollars. So that is a hefty amount of money. So we're just going to conclude this case. In conclusion, qualified theft is a grave offense in the Philippines due mainly to the betrayal of trust involved. Victims should act promptly to protect their rights, and those who are accused should be aware of their legal options and seek legal representation. So, it is a grave offense because, first of all, it affects the owner in many ways. It affects the business as well. The betrayal of trust is a huge thing in the Philippines. It's a huge concept in the Philippines. When we trust somebody and put them under our employ, it's because we trust them completely. Sometimes the problem in the Philippines is we do not do background checks. We rely on the fact that maybe it's a friend of a family member, or she or he was a friend back then in college or university, or they were recommended by another trusted person. So I really like the fact that here in Canada and in the US, we do a lot of background checks before we employ anybody, because no matter what the referral is, the recommendation is, you still need to, protect your business, right? Like, the business is not run by your friend, by your family, by your brother, by your sister, just because they know this person and they guarantee that this person is a good worker, doesn't mean it's a guarantee, right? Your guarantee is to make sure you call for references. For the person, I highly suggest calling references for work, where they used to work, why did they leave the company. But under Canadian labor law, you're not allowed to ask for those personal things. You just have to make sure that this person did work at the company. One other one other question that you can actually ask is, was it voluntary or involuntary termination? So voluntary termination means the person or the employee left the job on his own, or resigned or quit. Involuntary termination is something you need to investigate on, or be kind of like careful why they were terminated or fired or handed the pink slip. So that's just my little opinion about hiring people. I've had so many experiences back when I was a store manager for a few companies. One of them would be Gap. I acted as a store manager for a few months, and Guess as well. I am a store manager there, and at Urban Planet under YM Inc. in Canada. I was a store manager for 2 years, or no, so a year. It feels like 2 years because of the amount of work I've done. So anyway, I always make sure we do a lot of background check. It doesn't matter if it's retail, if it's an office job or administrative job, you need to do a background check. You need to make sure that the person did work and are not just padding their resume. So I've had so many experiences like that, be it in the store that I ran or with a former coworker. So, well, thank you so much for joining me today in one of my readings and some dialectics from my dad. I hope you liked this case and what you have learned, and see you soon.